Hi, I'm Jim Shaw, publisher of the Lexington Times and chairman of the board of LexMedia. I'm here right now with Cindy Arens, who's running for the select board. I finally got it right. I'm an old horse. It's hard to teach us new tricks, but I understand the need to refer to it as select board. Every once in a while, I do catch myself and say the old term, which I won't say now. Anyway, we welcome you, and we're really delighted that to provide an opportunity for you to talk a little bit about why you're running for the Board of Selectmen. It's a big step. I'm sure you've thought about it a lot before you made the decision to run. And so why don't we just start there? Why are you running for the Board of Selectmen?
Well, first of all...
I'm sorry, the Select Board. I did it. See, I did it. I'm sorry.
First of all, Jim, thank you for doing this, and thank you to LexMedia for running this. Yes, I'm running for Select Board. I have been doing lots of different things in town and helping lots of different people in lots of different ways. And I really feel that I'm ready for the select board, and I have a vision for the future of Lexington, and I want to do that work. I think I can do that work well, execute the vision that I have that's better for the community by being on the select board.
Right. Now, how long have you lived in Lexington?
I've been in Lexington for over 15 years.
Okay, great. And you've been active on other fronts.
Definitely. Yeah. So both of my kids have gone through the Lexington Public Schools. I still have one there. I work part-time at the high school, but I have been doing volunteer work. I'm a big sister, the Big Brother,
wonderful.
Big Sister organization. I have helped seniors do their taxes. I've worked with Minutemen Senior Services and helped seniors do with their finances. I've worked with LexHab, trying to help residents lower their utility bills, but also help LexHab access mass save and opportunities to lower costs to insulate and renovate and put heat pumps into their units. And also I've been on a number of all sorts of PTAs and PTOs that you could imagine, doing lots of work there, and a core member of the LPS Green Teams, which brought food waste diversion, to all of the public schools.
With a significant result.
Significant, 150 tons a year that we are not sending to the incinerator. It's really significant work.
Well, you talk about that, and not to deviate, but I often wonder. I used to hear stories about how we separate our trash and our recyclables, but it used to always end up in the same place, and that we're still incinerating. And I don't know about the recyclables, but it just seems to be archaic.
So there's multiple layers to that, right? But we can't recycle our way out of the waste issue that we have. Waste costs are going up. It just doesn't make sense to take food waste, especially that's so full of nutrients, and to incinerate it and burn it up, and send the pollution from that incinerator to an environmental justice community, which is also where I've been doing a lot of work, thinking about what actions we do here not only affect our own residents, but people outside, outside of Lexington, who don't necessarily have the resources or aren't equipped to deal with pollution or the other effects coming from climate change.
Right, and I think it's important that we're all aware about what's coming up, with the effects of climate change. And I was reading something the other day about the way the water comes around from cold to warm climates. I'm forgetting the term of the jet stream. Yep. And how the effect it's going to have within the next 50 years. It's very real and, potentially harmful, but so it's important that we lead on this. But that's not the only thing. I know you're chairperson of the
Sustainable Lexington Committee. Yeah.
Sustainable Lexington.
Yeah.
But your issues go way beyond just the issues of sustainability. Fair to say, right?
Fair to say. I mean, as I mentioned before, the other work that I've been doing to help people in the community, I really feel like Lexington, we talked about how long I've lived here and my kids going to school here. I think it's a great town, but I think that we can make it better. And some of this work that I've been doing, I've been seeing that there are people falling through the cracks still.
Right.
And so I think one of the priorities that I would make, being as a member of the select board, would be to make sure we fill those gaps and make sure that if we think of Lexington as a great town and so many great things, which I agree, but we still need to make sure that everyone in our town is welcome and can thrive.
Right, and cared for, and right.
We need all sorts of diversity in our town, economically, age-wise, culturally. You name it. Professionally, who lives here, what jobs do they do?
Right.
So I think, in that holistic view, we need to keep that holistic view to sort of lift everybody up in here in town. I think it's really important.
And you feel at this point you're prepared to sort of have a, I'm not going to say global, but a broader scope. Sitting on the board, you bring certain qualities to the board, and obviously, you've got some, your background and your career and your educational experiences have sort of prepared you for this. You've given it a lot of thought. So once you're sitting on the board, you're going to be, obviously responsible for making decisions about facilities and everything. Hiring. I mean, the town manager does the hiring. But making sure that the town is working to answer the needs of the citizens in a sort of in a broad way, and you're ready to do that. Absolutely. I mean, I've worked for almost 20 years. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. I've worked in the software, developing software. I've worked in management, operations management in the telecommunications industry. So I've done hiring. I've managed budgets. I've done all sorts of things like that. I've also been, more recently, deeply involved in building codes and very technical information. So my background, I'm very analytical, very practical, very data driven, but as examples in other work that I've done, I'm also very driven by my heart, and I want to help people. Right. So I think that those qualities together are really are really important for the select board and for being able to handle whatever comes to the select board, which I understand can be all sorts of things. I've also attended a number of the meetings, so I think I do have a good understanding of what's needed, and I'm quite excited actually to be involved and to help this town. Well, I think two of the things you talk about, passion and compassion, are important ingredients to be an effective member of the board. Like you said, having the passion to do the job. Because it's a tall mountain to climb, let's face it. I often thought about what it would be like to serve on the board, but then basically your whole life is out there, and your whole life is really at that point taking care of everyone else in the community, but also to be compassionate and understand the needs of people, so they're not just sort of pushing your own agenda. But you're actually answering the call and the needs of others. Absolutely. I mean, you need to listen to people, and this is one thing. Like the whole campaign is being able to meet so many more people in town, and really listening to about what they care about. Obviously, you've enjoyed the campaign. What they care about and what's important to them, and I think that's another really important aspect of being on the select board. Building trust, right? Building trust with people, and sort of and gaining buy-in. I met a lot of people, and not everyone has the same priorities, right, in town. And it's really, I think, really essential to listen to people and listen to everybody, and figure out a way that we can move forward positively. And bring people in. Well, that's the value of campaigning. Whether you're an incumbent or whether you're a challenger or somebody seeking office like this for the first time, a townwide office anyway, you're meeting with people and you're learning as you go. And I've always thought that to be a very valuable thing. So, and that's one of the reasons is whether I like an incumbent or not like an incumbent, I always like to see people running for office because you freshen things up. You get fresh ideas.
You're not going to talk about the incumbents you didn't like.
Yeah. So, but still, it's but I just like to see when there are challenges, because people have to have a conversation. And whether you're an incumbent or a challenger, all of a sudden it's fresh and you're having this discourse in the public eye. And it's good for democracy, I think.
Yeah. And there's lots of change happening, right? There's lots of change happening. There's lots of change coming to Lexington. There are people who are worried about it. But I really think that there are ways that we can bring people together, and we need to do more. We need to do more. We need to welcome more people into our community. Which we're trying to do with new changing in housing policies, and we'll get to that, because there are a couple of things that I know are important to you. Transportation, we need to have more and better ways for people to move around the community, and all of the new housing initiatives, 2 of which came out of town meeting last year. That I know they're going to go back and rough out the edges this year, but I know some people are concerned, well, it's not, sure, they'll take it up again in town meeting and they'll fix it, but they shouldn't have had to do that in the first place if they had just given the right amount of time to do these certain programs and do them right. Because they did, let's face it, they pushed hard on Article 33 and 34, and they weren't really, in some people's minds, complete and ready to go, that it wasn't necessary to do it that quickly, because I don't know if the town wanted to be the first, like they were, to accept it in the beginning. First to put the shovel in the ground or something. I don't know what the need was to get it done without doing it right. But we have a housing crisis.
Right.
No question. No question. And I think that what we need to do is just move forward, right? We are where we are, and we need to move forward. We definitely need more. Part of my what I think is really important is we need to move forward on affordable housing, and make sure that we get more. We're very lucky to have LexHab in town. We hope that they become a nonprofit. We have Lexington Housing Authority, but with the Affordable Housing Trust, we have the opportunity to create more of that. There's another Article 33 coming that I hope passes, and I hope is done very well. But I don't think that we should stop there in terms of and say, okay, well, we're done, right? We need to look at having affordable housing, much like what LexHab does. We have affordable housing throughout our community, and I think that's really important.
No, we do.
And then on top of that, you mentioned the transportation, right? We have to be thinking, I guess my vision is sort of more holistically. Like, yes, we need the housing, and luckily, because of stuff that I've worked on, that housing is going to be cleaner, healthier, more resilient, and lower cost to run. So that's great. We get the housing built, but then we need to make sure that we need to invest in our transportation options and making biking and walking safer in town. And I know that there's a bike ped plan, a draft one. I hope that it moves forward successfully, and then we make sure that we track to that, and we make those investments. Lexpress needs more investment. We need to have more partnership with the 120.
Marketing too, so people know where it goes, how to get it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and partnerships. With the REV, the 128 Business Council. I know MBTA's got its problems, but we can't just sort of sit back. We've got to still, keep working
and they are doing that.
to make those
to
things
some degree,
work together.
I know Susan Barrett, who's leading the effort at transportation. I know that she's trying her best to coordinate with the 128 Business Council and others, because I've seen some of their plans and some of their marketing that they've done. But you're right. It falls woefully short of what's necessary. Because we could, we have, environmentally conscious people that would, if they could, leave the car in the driveway and jump on a public transit system.
These are conversations I've been having throughout the campaign. I mean, this is, people, we have people in town who, maybe their kids have gone through the school system and they're out of the school system and they want to stay in Lexington. Somebody told me, and I would love to be able to jump on a shuttle and have a great dinner, in town. I mean, these are we have so many needs and so many wonderful people in town. Like we should be, you know, looking at all of those things. And why not, right? Like you mentioned, you know, yes, I'm not just a sustainability candidate.
Right.
It so happens that getting people good transportation options and being able to bike safely and walk safely, well, you know, that's better for the environment too. It's a plus there.
Right.
But really, I think the priority there for me is making this more inclusive and connected community.
And I think we have to know where people want to go. Like I do know that the LexPress does a loop out to the Burlington Mall.
Yep.
You know, but
and Leahy, it goes all the way up to Leahy.
And Leahy, well, that's good. And you know, so adding, you know, stops where people want to go. I remember years ago I worked for the Secretary of Transportation for a short period of time, and part of what I was doing was developing a marketing campaign for the intercity bus program. Lexington had one. We had a beautiful coach that would come through Lexington and pick people up along the way, along Mass Avenue. You'd get on board, there was hot coffee, there were newspapers, and for the most part, in my case, I took it right to the transportation building because that's where his office was, but it dropped us off, literally it had to stop in front of the transportation building, and it was awesome. But the problem was, and here's where the problem happens, a couple of times that the bus didn't show up. Right, for whatever reason, you know, whether it was a breakdown or what, but you're standing on the road, you got to get to work, and now all of a sudden you can't get there. Are you going to trust? So you were talking about trust a little while ago, but you know, people have to know and have faith in the system, and I think LexPress has done that, has met that, you know.
Absolutely,
you know, well, but my personal experience has been people have to be able to have faith that these things are going to show up when they
show up on time. Yeah, you know, and having traffic patterns or you know, change and all of that. But the good thing is we have some more technology now that we can use, and I mentioned before I'm a data-driven person, so we need to use that technology. We need to sort of optimize those, you know, work and optimize those routes. And you mentioned Susan. I know that she's got some great ideas on that. But we need to put some priority on that, and really get, you know, it was, you know, LexPress did this great thing where they had the $20 ride, where they you know, they changed the ticketing system. $20 annual pass. They got 5x number of passes. They sold 5x number of passes, but the ridership only went up 50%. Right. So you could tell that a lot of people were really excited.
They were thinking about it.
And really excited, and
acted on it.
And act on it. You know, and they haven't had that opportunity yet. And I think it's you know, it's part of what you're saying about not just marketing, but figuring out what those destinations are. Maybe small changes to routes. Maybe it's another bus. You know, longer term, but have a good plan for that.
It's an important resource, and people, you know, and I know kids at the high school take advantage of it. Kids in the schools take advantage of it.
Yep.
But everyone should take advantage of it. It's there, and it's been here for a long time. I remember when there was the campaign for naming the LexPress. So, I mean, my memory goes way back. So, but we're not here to talk about my memory.
But I did want to say about, you mentioned about, you know, community and high school students using it. There was a recent article, and a high school student was talking about, you know, the history of LexPress and riding and their experience riding the bus. And something that I thought was really great is they connected with an older person, an elder, you know, in the community on the bus, and they met and had these conversations that they wouldn't have had.
Right.
You know, that's not the only reason why we need it. We need it.
It really is. I love those types of situations.
It's
sort of hearing about that. And it's a hail system, by the way. You don't have to go. You can stand in your driveway. You can just put your hand out like you're hailing a cab.
As long as you're on the route, right?
As long as you're on the route.
Right.
So it'll stop right there for you. You don't have to walk to a certain destination to get on it. They make it simple.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the housing issues, because I know you're really compassionate about that. You know, I'm sorry, passionate about the housing stuff. We have the village overlays that are taking place, and I know, and then there's the residential.
Special residential developents,
developments. They've taken the special permitting process out of it, right? So it's just residential development. I forgot the acronyms and all of this.
SRD, yep.
So, and it's not vital that I know. It's more important that you know. But still, it's having its effect. You know, we're moving towards a more densely populated neighborhoods, which is not a bad thing if it's done and managed right, because even with that, it's not. I know it's by right, but the residential development program basically still requires people to go through certain processes. It's not just a given that they're going to be able to develop. And am I correct on that?
Yeah, there's a. I'm not running for planning board, but there is a site plan review that is required.
It's important.
But it's important.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think the point you bring up is important for the community to know. Right. It's important for the community to know. But as a select board member, I think it's also important to make sure that what gets built, right, works for the community and is good for the community, and that the resources like transportation, right, because that's not necessarily part of any of these of these projects that might happen. That is part of it. That is part of thinking about how we do it. We certainly you know, there are people who are also concerned about, well, is that more building really going to make it more affordable? And there's, I won't go into, we don't have enough time to go into it now about the definitions of affordable housing versus, you know, technical definitions of affordable housing. But we need more housing that is lower cost, smaller and lower cost than what has been being built in town.
Fair. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Absolutely, we need that, and so I hope that that's what happens. That it is lower cost and smaller than what we've had before. Okay. Absolutely.
Well, we're talking about construction and building. I did hear you at one of the public forums talk about some of your ideas that would create some savings on the high school. Yeah. And that's the 10,000-pound gorilla that's out there, and that's something that affects everybody, whether it doesn't matter what board you're on, planning board, school committee, or what have you. So you had some thoughts and ideas about this. We've only got a couple more minutes, and I apologize for that, but I did want to make sure you had an opportunity to talk about that because you have something different to say about it, which is, you know, there are ways to achieve cost savings.
Absolutely. We need a reimagined high school. We know that we have needs that we aren't meeting with our current lovely building. But if we do it the right way, and if we plan now, and I've already been spending a lot of times at focus groups, hours and hours at meetings, talking about these things. If we make sure that we plan and build this reimagined high school as efficient as possible, maximizing solar and battery storage, and in these ways, and plan ahead, and engage the utility, take advantage of state and federal incentives and rebates.
Those are real. I mean, that's the thing. They're real rebates, programs.
Real programs. Yeah. And some of them are relatively new, right? But we need to take advantage of them. Even we can lower the cost of the high school by about $25 million. Now, that's a significant amount, right? And these are things MSBA, and again, I'm not running for school committee, but I know about these things. MSBA is going to help and give some of the money. If we follow the policies that we've set forward, that I've advocated for as the chair of Sustainable Lexington for in town, we'll also get more money from MSBA. So these are an incentive to build a resilient, healthier, and by the way, when you make a healthier building that has good air quality, your productivity goes up. We will have a better learning environment. We have other things that we need to make a better learning environment as well, but those things are really important. But on top of that, there's like a cherry on top. There are layers on top of that. We can lower the cost, but we can also lower the operational cost, the annual operation cost of any building by about $1 million. I mean, that's significant, $1 million a year. So we're talking about lowering the impact on residential, on property owners, right, on taxpayers from what would have to be borrowed, and lowering the impact on the annual budget for years out. So I think that's really important.
It's a win-win, what you're saying.
I'm sorry?
A win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I've been advocating for is making sure, and this is my sort of analytical optimization, making sure we're optimizing the space, that we don't overbuild that building. We definitely have lots of needs, but let's look at that and see how those needs, may overlap. We have a lot of the community that this is not just a high school; it's also a community building being used for all sorts of wonderful things, and making sure that we don't build too big, right? So keep the costs under control that way. And so important. Thanks for asking about that.
Yeah. No, I knew it was something important. I remember you talking about it when I saw you at the Indian American Forum.
At the first forum,
because you actually brought that up, and I thought, well, that's interesting. That's a different take on it, and it should be heard. We're getting ready to close out. I don't know if there's anything that we didn't cover. I know I apologize for the limited amount of time, and there's so much that we could talk about. So if there's anything that I didn't throw at you that's really a passion thing for you, feel free to bring it up. Otherwise, we can talk about your website where people can learn more. So is there...
no, I would just say thank you to Jim, to you, and to LexMedia. I really think that there's so many things that they've already touched upon, but not leaving any resident behind, welcoming more residents into town, trying to make it more affordable, being concerned about our tax. I am confident, optimistic, really excited that we can do all of those things and save money for the town and honor our history. We can do that, but we have to act on a planned vision, and I think that I have that, so I can do it. My website is cindyarens.com, and
Arens.
Arens, yes.
Right, and Cindy with a Y.
Cindy with a Y, Cindy.
Right. Yeah. Great. Well, I hope people take the time to go on and learn more about you. I wish you all the best. I know we're going to be, we're getting close. It's almost a week away. We get past the weekend here, and then the final hurdle is the last week of the campaign. So important. I'm sorry, can I? Yeah, of course.
It's so important for people to vote. Right. so important. Especially in local elections. Right. Yes, we have a presidential primary, but it's just so important for people to come out and vote.
And to remind people, this year, they're actually voting the local election on Tuesday. It's usually Monday, but Tuesday along with the state primary.
Tuesday, March 5th. Right. But you can start voting tomorrow at Cary Hall.
That's right.
Early voting.
They have early voting. It's in the latest edition of the Lexington Times, as is your statements and all of that. But people can learn more if they just even go on the town website and look up the town clerk. It's all right there. There's still time. I think maybe the time has passed for absentee ballots, but they can certainly vote. And on Saturday, which is, I think, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I can't remember which one. They're actually going to be open for early voting. Tomorrow. Till
February 24th.
Till 5 o'clock.
9 to 5,
At Town Hall. I might go do that.
At Cary Hall, I'm going to be there.
Good for you. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Win, lose, or draw, we're very lucky to have you with us in Lexington doing all the great things you do. And I'm sure no election's going to stop you from continuing. Again, win, lose, or draw. I'm always trying to be fair about that. And I don't want to be the person who jinxes everything, But the point is, you're an active citizen, no matter where you're active. So
and we have a great. You're right about that. And we have a great community. We have a great community of people that are all very passionate about what they do and want to make a difference. And
Well, thank you for everything you do. All right. We'll see you along the campaign trail.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks
Jim.
So
much.